You think attraction is obvious, loud, easy to spot. But the truth is, the strongest attraction a woman feels is often the most controlled, the most hidden. She won't always tell you, she won't always chase you, but she will always show you through her behavior. And if you don't understand these signs, you'll miss it every single time. She tries to stay in your presence longer than necessary, and at first, it doesn't even look intentional. It feels casual, almost coincidental, like she just happens to be there a little longer than expected. The conversation technically ends, but she doesn't leave. There's a pause, a silence that should naturally lead to distance, yet she fills it with something small, another question, a random comment, a subtle extension of the moment. It's not about what's being said anymore, it's about delaying the separation. Because when a woman feels deeply drawn to you, your presence becomes something she unconsciously values, and walking away from it too quickly feels like losing something she hasn't fully experienced yet. You'll notice she doesn't rush. Even when she has a reason to go, she slows things down. She adjusts her pace, lingers physically, or keeps herself engaged in a way that keeps her within your space. It's not loud or obvious, it's controlled and almost quiet, but it's consistent. She might pretend to check something, fix something, or casually stay involved in an environment where you are, even if her role there is already done. The key detail is this: her actions are no longer efficient, they are extended, because attraction shifts priorities, and when someone becomes emotionally important, time around them stops being something to minimize and starts becoming something to stretch. What makes this even more subtle is that she often won't realize she's doing it. This isn't a calculated move, it's instinctive. Her mind is trying to create more opportunities without directly admitting that she wants them. So instead of saying, "I want to stay," she creates situations where staying feels natural. She might ask for your opinion on something that doesn't really need your input, or bring up a topic that doesn't require immediate discussion. These are not random behaviors. They are extensions of presence, small, almost invisible attempts to remain connected to you just a little longer than necessary. And when you start paying attention, you'll see a pattern. It won't just happen once, it will repeat. Every interaction feels like it lasts slightly longer than it should. There's always an extra moment, an extra sentence, an extra reason. Even her body reflects this hesitation to leave. She won't turn away quickly. She won't break eye contact immediately. Her exit is delayed, softened, stretched out in a way that reveals more than her words ever could. Because leaving you isn't just a physical action in that moment, it carries emotional weight, and she feels it. Sometimes she'll even create a loop. She starts to leave, then comes back with something else, a forgotten detail, a quick follow-up, something she just remembered. But what's really happening is that she's not fully ready to disconnect. She's trying to reopen the interaction without making it obvious that she never wanted it to end in the first place. And this is where most men misunderstand the situation. They assume it's politeness, friendliness, or coincidence. But consistency is never coincidence. When someone repeatedly extends their presence around you without a clear reason, there is always an underlying emotional pull driving that behavior. What's even more revealing is how different she is with you compared to others. With other people, her interactions are more efficient. She comes, she speaks, she leaves. There's a natural flow, a clear beginning and end. But with you, that structure breaks. Time becomes less defined. Endings become blurred. Because when attraction is deep, she's not just engaging in conversation, she's trying to stay within a feeling. Your presence gives her something: attention, curiosity, emotional stimulation, and she's not in a hurry to walk away from that. And if you remain unaware of this, if you treat those extra moments as meaningless, you miss the entire signal because she's not asking directly, she's showing indirectly, she's giving you time, extending access, allowing the interaction to breathe longer than it logically should. That's her way of opening a door without saying a word, of inviting something more without risking rejection. And the longer you fail to notice it, the more those extensions start to shrink, because eventually unrecognized effort begins to feel one-sided. Her body language becomes open, soft, and inviting around you. And this shift is often far more revealing than anything she could ever say out loud. It doesn't happen randomly, and it doesn't happen with everyone. It's selective, controlled in a way that feels natural, yet deeply influenced by how she feels in your presence. When a woman is truly drawn to you, her body stops guarding itself the way it does around people she feels neutral about. There's a subtle release of tension, a quiet lowering of defenses, and you can see it in the way she positions herself, the way she holds eye contact, the way her movements become slower and more intentional without appearing forced. At first, it might be something small. She turns her body toward you instead of away. Her shoulders align in your direction, her feet unconsciously pointing toward where you are. These are not calculated gestures. They are instinctive signals of interest because the body naturally orients itself toward what it values. And when she's engaged with you, fully present, her posture reflects that. She doesn't close herself off. She doesn't create barriers. Instead, she creates openness, making it easier for you to approach, to speak, to stay in that moment with her. There's also a softness that begins to appear in the way she moves. Her gestures lose their sharpness. The tension in her hands, her arms, even her facial expression starts to dissolve. She becomes more fluid, more relaxed, but not in a careless way. It's a kind of controlled softness where every movement feels slightly more aware, slightly more tuned into how she's being perceived by you. She might adjust her hair more often, touch her face lightly, or smooth out her clothes without even realizing it. These are not signs of insecurity, they are signs of heightened awareness. She becomes conscious of herself because your attention matters. Her eye contact is another place where this openness becomes undeniable. It's no longer quick or purely functional. It lingers. It holds for a second longer than necessary, then breaks slowly instead of abruptly. And when it returns, it feels intentional. There's a rhythm to it, a silent communication that says more than words ever could. Because when a woman is deeply attracted, she doesn't just look at you, she lets you feel that she's looking. There's warmth in it, a kind of quiet invitation that makes the interaction feel more personal, more charged without anything explicit being said. Even the space between you changes. She becomes more comfortable being physically closer, not in a dramatic way, but in small, almost unnoticeable adjustments. She won't step back when you move slightly closer. She might even close the distance herself in subtle ways, standing just a little nearer than what would be considered neutral. This reduction of space is important because physical proximity is one of the clearest indicators of comfort and attraction. When someone allows you into their personal space without resistance, it means they don't see you as a threat. They see you as someone they're drawn to. Her reactions also become softer. She smiles more easily, laughs a little more openly, responds with warmth instead of neutrality. Even her voice can change, becoming calmer, smoother, sometimes slightly lower or more expressive. These shifts are not performances. They are reflections of how she feels internally. When she's around you, she's not just interacting, she's experiencing something, and her body naturally aligns with that experience. It becomes less rigid, less guarded, more expressive in a way that feels inviting rather than distant. What makes this powerful is that it's consistent but not exaggerated. She's not trying to impress everyone in the room. She's not displaying this behavior universally. It's directed, focused, reserved for you in a way that separates you from others without her having to say it directly. And if you compare how she carries herself around you versus how she is with someone she's indifferent to, the difference becomes clear. With others, she might be polite, composed, even slightly closed off. But with you, there's an ease, a softness, a willingness to be more open that doesn't need explanation because it's already visible in every small movement she makes. She unconsciously seeks your validation and reaction. And this is where her attraction starts to reveal itself in ways that are easy to overlook if you're not paying attention. It's not direct, it's not obvious, and it's rarely verbalized. Instead, it shows up in the small moments where she says something, does something, or presents herself in a certain way, and then quietly waits just for a second to see how you respond. That pause, that subtle anticipation, carries more meaning than the action itself. Because when a woman is deeply attracted, your opinion begins to hold weight, and your reaction becomes something she naturally starts to value without even realizing it. You'll notice it in the way she shares things with you. Sometimes it's a story, sometimes it's a thought, sometimes it's even something simple or insignificant. But the content isn't the focus is you. She's watching how you react, how you respond, whether you engage or stay neutral. And when your reaction is positive, when you show interest or approval, there's a slight shift in her energy. It's subtle, but it's there. She becomes a little more open, a little more expressive, as if your response has just confirmed something for her. Not in a dependent way, but in a way that reinforces the connection she feels. This need for validation doesn't come from insecurity, it comes from emotional investment. When someone matters to you, their perception of you starts to matter as well. So she begins to filter certain behaviors through that lens. She might adjust what she says, how she says it, even how she presents herself, all while appearing completely natural on the surface. She's not performing for everyone. She's tuning herself specifically to your attention. And because it's subconscious, it doesn't feel like effort to her. It feels like alignment, like she's simply responding to something she feels when she's around you. There are moments where she might test the waters without making it obvious. She could make a slightly bold comment, a playful remark, or express an opinion that carries a bit of emotional weight. But the real intention isn't just to communicate, it's to observe. She wants to see how you handle it. Do you agree? Do you challenge her? Do you stay engaged or pull back? Your reaction becomes a form of feedback, and she absorbs it more than she lets on. Because when attraction is deep, she's not just interacting for the sake of conversation, she's trying to understand where she stands in your eyes. You'll also see this in how she reacts to your approval versus your indifference. When you show interest, when you validate something she says or does, there's a quiet sense of satisfaction in her response. It might come through a softer smile, a more relaxed posture, or a slightly more engaged tone. But when your reaction is flat or distant, something shifts. She might try to re-engage, say something else, or subtly adjust her approach. Not in a desperate way, but in a way that shows she noticed, because your lack of reaction doesn't go unnoticed. It creates a small gap that she instinctively tries to close. Even her appearance can become part of this dynamic. She might pay a little more attention to how she looks when she knows she'll see you, but more importantly, she'll notice if you notice. A glance, a compliment, even a brief acknowledgement from you can carry more weight than it normally would. And again, she won't ask for it directly. She won't say she wants your approval, but her behavior will quietly orbit around it, creating opportunities for you to respond, to notice, to validate without being asked. What makes this so easy to misread is how controlled it is. She's not openly seeking attention. She's not demanding validation. It's subtle, almost hidden within normal interaction. But the consistency is what reveals it. It happens again and again in different forms, across different moments. She keeps placing small pieces of herself in front of you, not to impress the world, but to see how you receive them. And over time, this pattern becomes clearer. She's not just engaging with you, she's emotionally investing in how you perceive her, allowing your reactions to shape the way she continues to show up around you. She mirrors your behavior and syncs with your energy, and this is one of the most powerful yet unnoticed indicators of deep attraction because it happens beneath conscious awareness. It's not something she decides to do, and it's not something she plans. It's automatic. When a woman feels emotionally drawn to you, her mind begins to align with yours in subtle ways, and that alignment starts to reflect through her behavior. You won't see it as imitation in an obvious sense, but you will feel a kind of rhythm between you, as if the interaction flows more naturally, more smoothly, without effort or resistance. At first, it shows up in small behavioral shifts. The way you speak, your tone, your pace, she begins to adjust to it. If you're calm and composed, she softens. Her voice lowers slightly, her movements slow down, and she matches your level of intensity. If you're more playful or expressive, she opens up in that direction too. She becomes more animated, more responsive, almost as if she's stepping into the same emotional space you're creating. This isn't performance, it's synchronization. Her emotional state begins to respond to yours in real time, creating a sense of connection that feels effortless, but is actually deeply rooted in attraction. You'll notice that conversations with her start to feel unusually smooth. There's less friction, fewer awkward pauses, and a natural back and forth that feels almost instinctive. That's because she's not just listening to your words. She's tuning into your energy. She's reading your expressions, your timing, your subtle cues, and adjusting herself accordingly. If you pause, she pauses. If you lean in slightly, she might do the same. If you laugh, she responds with a similar emotional tone. These are not coincidences. They are signs that her focus is deeply locked onto you, not just intellectually, but emotionally. This mirroring also extends beyond conversation into physical behavior. You might notice that she picks up on your gestures without realizing it. If you cross your arms, she might shift her posture in a similar way moments later. If you lean back, she mirrors that relaxation. If you tilt your head or adjust your stance, there's a chance she reflects that movement in her own subtle way. It's not immediate or exaggerated, which is why most people miss it. But when you observe closely, the pattern becomes clear. Her body is responding to yours as if there's an invisible connection guiding her movements. What makes this even more revealing is how selective it is. She doesn't do this with everyone. Around people she feels neutral about, her behavior stays consistent, independent, unaffected, but around you, there's a clear shift. She becomes more adaptive, more responsive, more aligned. It's as if her natural state becomes flexible in your presence, adjusting itself to match whatever emotional tone you set. This is what creates that feeling of chemistry that people often talk about but rarely understand. It's not just about attraction, it's about synchronization on a subconscious level. There are also moments where this alignment becomes emotional rather than physical. If your mood changes, she picks up on it quickly. If you become distant, quieter, or slightly withdrawn, she senses it even if you don't say anything. And instead of ignoring it, she adjusts. She might become calmer, more attentive, or try to re engage you in a way that matches your state. This responsiveness shows that she's not just present, she's connected. Your emotional shifts don't go unnoticed, and they don't leave her unaffected. Over time, this mirroring creates a kind of unspoken bond. You begin to feel understood without having to explain yourself. Conversations feel easier, interactions feel smoother, and there's a natural sense of comfort that builds without effort. But what's really happening underneath is that she's continuously aligning herself with you, moment by moment, adjusting her behavior to stay in sync with your presence. And the deeper the attraction, the stronger this synchronization becomes until it feels less like two separate individuals interacting and more like two energies moving in quiet coordination, responding to each other without needing words to guide the connection. She creates small emotional moments to connect with you, and these moments are never loud, never obvious, but they carry a depth that most people completely overlook. They don't stand out to everyone else, but if you're paying attention, they feel different, slightly more personal, slightly more intentional. When a woman is deeply attracted, she doesn't always express it through direct words or grand gestures. Instead, she builds connection in fragments, in brief interactions that seem ordinary on the surface, but are carefully placed to create emotional closeness without exposing her vulnerability too quickly. It might begin with something as simple as a shared joke, not just humor for the sake of laughter, but something that feels exclusive, something that only the two of you fully understand. She might reference something you said earlier, bring it back in a playful way, and in doing so, she creates a loop, an inside moment that belongs only to both of you. These small shared experiences become emotional anchors. They make the interaction feel more intimate without ever crossing into something overtly serious. Because when attraction is deep, she doesn't rush intensity. She builds it slowly, carefully, through moments that feel safe but meaningful. There are also moments where she allows a glimpse of something slightly more personal. Not too much, not too deep, but just enough to shift the tone of the interaction. She might share a thought, a feeling, or a small detail about herself that she wouldn't normally offer to just anyone, and then she watches, not in an obvious way, but quietly, to see how you respond. These moments are subtle tests of emotional safety. She's not just trying to connect, she's trying to understand whether you can hold that connection without dismissing it or mishandling it. Because emotional attraction isn't just about interest, it's about trust, and trust is built in pieces. Sometimes these moments are created through silence rather than words, a pause that lingers a little longer than usual, a look that holds just a second more than necessary, a shared stillness that doesn't feel awkward, but instead feels charged with something unspoken. These are the moments where connection deepens without explanation. She's not filling every gap with conversation because she doesn't need to. The silence itself becomes a form of communication, a way of saying that being in that space with you feels comfortable, even meaningful. She might also create emotional moments by slightly shifting the tone of an interaction when you least expect it. A conversation that starts casually might suddenly carry a hint of sincerity. A playful exchange might include a brief, genuine compliment. These shifts are intentional in feeling, even if they're not consciously planned. They're her way of layering the interaction, adding depth without making it obvious. Because if she were to express everything directly, it would expose too much too quickly. So instead, she lets these small moments carry the weight of what she feels. What makes these emotional moments powerful is their consistency. They don't happen once and disappear. They repeat in different forms across different interactions. Each time they add a little more depth, a little more familiarity, a little more connection. And over time, you start to feel like there's something building between you, even if nothing has been clearly defined. That's because she's been quietly constructing that connection piece by piece, moment by moment, without ever needing to announce it. You'll also notice that these moments are often directed specifically at you. She might be in a group, but there will be brief instances where her focus shifts entirely to you. A quick glance, a subtle comment, a small interaction that separates you from everyone else, even if only for a few seconds. These are not accidents. They are intentional breaks in the broader environment, designed to create a one-on-one emotional space within a larger setting. Because even when others are around, her attention finds its way back to you in these quiet, almost invisible ways. And if you fail to recognize these moments, if you treat them as ordinary or insignificant, you miss the entire language she's using to connect with you, because she's not relying on direct expression. She's relying on emotional presence, on shared experiences that feel small but carry meaning. She's giving you pieces of connection, offering you opportunities to step into that space with her, to respond, to engage, to deepen what's already being built without ever having to define it out loud. She finds subtle excuses to be noticed by you again and again. And this is where her attraction becomes quietly persistent without ever appearing desperate or obvious. It's not about dramatic attempts to grab your attention. It's about consistency in small, almost unnoticeable behaviors that keep bringing her back into your awareness. When a woman is deeply attracted, she doesn't always feel comfortable expressing it directly. So instead, she positions herself in ways that naturally draw your attention without forcing it. It feels effortless on the surface, but underneath, there's intention guiding her actions.